Welcome to Bari Banter, where we talk everything bariatric surgery with the people that know it best, the patients. I'm Shannon, and I'm here with my co-hostess with the mostest,
Lita. So sit back, relax, and remember, sip, sip, sip.
I didn't get the memo.
What memo? What are you talking about?
Like, I know it's Halloween this week, but I didn't know we're wearing masks.
What are you talking about?
What, is that your actual face?
Have I got something on my face? Come on.
Oh, that's terrible. I wanted to make the joke, but it doesn't even make sense because clearly you're prettier than I am. On other news, I booked in to do my third skydive in a week's time.
That's one step closer to your naked skydiving.
My naked skydive. Yeah, got to have goals. But it actually got me thinking about when we went skydiving. What did we go to skydiving for?
It was your 1 year surgiversary and my getting under 90
50?
kilos.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Well, I'd lost 50 kilos,
Yeah.
but it was I needed to be under 90 kilos so I didn't have to pay the fat insurance.
Yeah, the extra, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because it got me to thinking, and because I was looking at the weather for next week, and it was like cloudy and overcast, and I was like, oh, I'm not doing that again. Because when we went skydiving, I remembered I called up the day before, and I was like, hey, what happens if it rains? And they're like, oh, we don't jump, because like, you know how in cartoons the raindrop has like a little point on top of it? Well, when you jump out of a plane and you're moving faster than the raindrops, you can feel those points.
They're like little tiny needles.
And I was like, that sounds terrible. We definitely don't want to do that. Next minute, we go up in the plane. It's overcast, a little bit drizzly. We're like, we'll be fine. And yeah, long story short.
I jumped and it was perfect.
Well, I was going to say when the door opened, we almost crashed the plane because Alita actually
almost punched the pilot.
She like freaked out, just started grabbing at the pilot, and they're like, no, don't do that. And then, yeah, I jumped into a rain cloud, and yeah, long story short, it hurt. A lot.
It was great for me though. I had a great time.
Yeah, you had a great time, apart from when you got down the bottom and you almost got blown into a lake.
That's minor details.
But that's the thing, when stories go wrong, bad experiences make for great stories. So even if it was...
I know, you got like pinpricks because of the rain.
Yeah,
I almost got drowned, so all
Yeah,
good. But
win-win.
the actual jump itself was amazing.
Oh, yeah.
I did a backflip.
Apart from this part, everything was great.
You should do it. It's amazing.
It's amazing. Yeah, I can't wait. Third jump next Wednesday should be a ball. I'm really excited for today's guest.
Me too. We've been waiting to have her on for a little while, so I'm super excited to get chatting with her.
Yeah, she's a little champion. She is. Would you like to introduce her?
Sure. So she had her gastric sleeve 3.5 years ago, and she's lost a staggering 42 kilos, but the accomplishments definitely don't stop there. She's done marathons, triathlons.
She's done triathletes.
Well, she's probably found herself a good man and crushed her career. But that's just the start of this amazing journey for this amazing woman. Please welcome Cara Turnley, also known as Cara Turnley on Instagram.
I know. I love that her handle is the same as her name. That makes it no one underscores, just nice and easy. Cara, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. What a welcome.
What a welcome. I know. I just get these little hints in that you've been doing naughty stuff. Good one, leader, on that one.
Sorry.
But can I just...
I don't think I've ever done a triathlete, just to clarify.
No, you haven't? No, yeah. I'm not even going to touch that one. We're just going to move straight
I'm just going to skip over that question.
But I wanted to bring up straight away, we looked at, obviously, the form when we sent it out to you, and one of your goals prior to surgery was to run a marathon. Can I just start by saying that's epic.
Yeah, what?
Like, usually it's like lose weight, blah, blah. Yours is like to run a marathon. And you've clearly done that.
Yeah, so it was really funny because I moved in with my partner, James, last year, and I was going through moving boxes and just getting sick of seeing everything in the garage. And I found this old notebook that was actually a food diary from one of my many failed attempts at losing weight. And I had my weight written down and how much I'd eaten that day, and I had a goal list on the front, and like number 4 was run a marathon, and I was like, I've done that. Okay. So it was just like I think it was from back when I was like 21 or something. I wrote it, so I was like, a long-term goal. I didn't even kind of realize.
Well, touching on the surface, marathon is the start for you.
Yeah,
do you want to go through some of the achievements you've accomplished?
Well, the marathon was great. It was in this really ugly place called Queenstown. So if I'm going to do a marathon, I picked such an epic location.
Yeah.
It was just absolutely stunning, and I didn't really train enough, to be honest, but I enjoyed it, and I wasn't really worried about the time. I just wanted to finish, so that was quite cool. But before that, I sort of started doing triathlon, which seems to be a sunny coast kind of thing that we like to do as we get our surgery and then we start doing triathlon.
Yeah.
But it was actually a school sport. So when I was at school on the Sunshine Coast, it was just a standard school sport that some people did. And I just remember being in awe of these people and just thought I could never, like, run around in my swimwear, let alone do a swim, a bike and a run. And so I think the idea just kind of stuck with me. And as I got a bit more confident with my weight loss, I found out a bit more about Noosa Triathlon, and it had already sold out because I was oblivious to how, Noosa sells out within the first 5 minutes. And then I applied to represent a charity. So I was able to fundraise for Beyond Blue, and they helped get me an entry into it. And then, and then that's kind of where it all started.
But you've also gone on to do 70.3. You just did one just recently, didn't you?
So the 70.3 at Sunny Coast, the one just gone, I actually DNF'd.
For those who don't know what DNF means, it means did not finish.
Yeah, because you lost the contact lens. No, that's all right. I was going to go through the 70.3. So 70.3 triathlon, by the way, because it just doesn't do it justice when you say 70.3. It's pretty much a 1.9K swim, 1.9K swim, followed by a 90-kilometer bike ride, and then a 21.1 half marathon at the end. But you end up losing a contact lens, didn't you?
Yeah, not quite an eye. That would have been distressing. But actively, for me, it was essentially the same thing because I am very, 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 very short-sighted. So I wear contacts all the time. And I'm to the point where I'm too blind to get like LASIK surgery and stuff like that. So you're looking at like legally blind multiple times over. So I got 1 kilometre into the bike, and the rain was just like pouring down my face. I just blinked the wrong way, and it's never happened before, and I don't think it will ever happen again. But I just sort of blinked around and thought, oh, okay. And then of course all my balance was out of whack, and I just felt it was unsafe more for other people, especially on the bike. So I didn't want to be responsible for sort of ruining another person's race. So
you didn't want to ride 89 kilometres with only one eye?
Mate, just add the challenges.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it would have been a good story at the end, but I just I pulled the pin, which was a bit disappointing, but I sort of just kind of went, okay, well that was a bit crappy, but not necessarily in my control, and I then immediately signed up for Moreton Bay Triathlon as like a redemption race, so that I could do an Olympic distance at least and get a full race under my belt. I think I've gotten more superstitious since I've started racing and stuff. So you kind of think I've got like bad juju. If I don't finish, I need to do another race and finish it. So I've got rid of the bad juju. So but the year before was great.
Yeah, no, that's it, because you've done the 70.3 the year before last, wasn't it?
Yes, and then I did the Tweed Enduro in March of this year. So the Tweed is probably it's one of my favourite races, just because Pottsville is such a cool little town.
How cool is Pottsville?
Yeah, the whole neighbourhood, like the whole community gets around the race, and it's still quite a small race relative to the other Ironman events, and it gets really hot. So I've done I've done 2 Tweed Enduros. I did the sprint the first year and then the 70.3 this year, and I've signed up to do, so that's my next big race is March next year. So
wow. I have this meme here that I saw it, I think 2 days ago, and it made me giggle, and I thought it was just perfect that represents you and the two of us too, but it's triathlete, noun, a person who doesn't understand that one sport is hard enough.
Yeah, so you might as well try and give all 3 a crack. What was it for you that got you into tries?
So I think it was just that the whole growing up on the sunny coast and having it as a school sport. I think that was how I knew about it, and I loved watching people like Emma Snowdell and stuff on the at the Olympics and just absolutely crushing it. So I was definitely more aware of it than most people, I guess, just from growing up seeing people do it, and growing up by the water. So ocean swimming is I'm okay with that. I quite like going out in the waves. So and then I think because of my journey, I think you start to understand or realize like how mentally tough you can be, or like your potential for that. And I think also you have to be a bit of a masochist too. Like the
that's a good way of putting
event.
it. Yeah, I like that word because I've said that before, and I usually put it as to do, endurance sport, you need to have a little bit of mental baggage, and I call it like ammunition, like fuel, that you can rely on when times get tough. But yeah, what was your word? Masochism. Yeah, I like that because it's the same thing. It's like
it's kind of true. Like anybody is definitely fit enough to do all three sports. It's just whether or not you are mentally prepared to be able to put the hard work in there to do it. So I think it does come down to us all having a few little screws loose in our minds to actually go, oh, let's try all three of them back to back.
Because you have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because you are uncomfortable for a very long time. So, you're not wrong there, that's for sure. So you're obviously now a goal kicker, but to understand how you got to where you are, I think we should go back. What was it for you that, what was a turning point? What was the point that you went, okay, I'm going to go down the lines of having weight loss surgery?
Yeah. I was starting to think about this the other day, and it gets pretty dark, but I think that's sort of, everyone has that kind of story where you get to that point where you're like, enough is enough, and you need to sort of reclaim back your existence. So I kind of just I got sick of feeling like I wasn't actually living my life. I just felt like I was a bystander and just kind of watching time go past. I was convinced that I was going to die alone, eat my cats. Like it was kind of, your brain kind of catastrophizes it as well. But I've sort of been someone who's dealt with anxiety and depression through my life anyway, and I think it was just that combined with getting a job that was you had to perform at a really high level. Basically all I did was work. It was my life. So I've jumbled up the timeline a little bit, but I guess the very start was like a lot of people, I didn't have the best time at school. So just had a very, so that resulted in me having a very, I placed very low value or very little value on myself, and I didn't think I was good enough, and I didn't think that I was pretty, and I thought I was too fat, and so all of that sort of stuff. And then when you're getting that external validation that what you're thinking about yourself is true, it kind of starts from that, and then it just it keeps snowballing throughout your life, and you don't really, I think sometimes I just try to ignore it, but I think getting to the point where my parents were like obviously concerned about my health. My doctor was advising me that I was pre-diabetic, so my insulin sensitivity was kind of progressing that way. And when I was, avoiding going out to social situations because I didn't like the way I looked, and it was all sorts, those types of things. I think you just get to a point where you're like, I've had enough. Like I can't keep living like this. Yeah. And then the big thing on the horizon was my 30th birthday. And I thought, I do not want to live my 30s the way that I haven't lived in my 20s. Like, I don't want to do this again. And then one of my really close friends actually had the surgery, because it's sort of, about it, but you sort of think like, I'm not taking the easy way out, or I'm not going to do that. It's like too expensive or whatever. And then I saw her completely change her life in the space of a year. Like, she just really reclaimed it, and she's a single mom, and she's kicking career goals like nothing else. And I just thought, like, I think seeing someone I know go through that process, it kind of makes it a bit more relatable, and you kind of think like maybe I could actually do something like that. And then that kind of was how it all sort of started, and I got the wheels in motion and went to my GP, and I think I had a cry and said to her, I'm sick of living like this. Like, and then she was like, all right, this is what we're doing. And she referred me to her recommended surgeon, and then, the rest is history.
Yeah, because I think you touched on a really good point there, and that was, you perceived it as the easy way and different things like that. And I think we all do kind of to a degree, and I was always like, I don't want to go down that avenue yet. It seems quite extreme. But doing, obviously seeing Instagram, seeing all these lives that are being changed and all these people that are benefiting from weight loss surgery. And again, this is why we want to do Bari Banter, to kind of bring it out to people, to show that, like, it's not just the case of, and my surgeon said this before, it's not just a case of people going and getting their stomachs chopped out and kind of, sent away. There is so many success stories, and it's just a great tool that is giving people this second chance and this opportunity. And so, people that are seeing on the outside in mainstream and don't have to deal with this kind of thing, I think that's something they really need to pay attention to, is this is actually saving people's lives, but not even just saving lives, it's giving people a life.
Yeah, and I think what you said too is very relatable. Like Shan, we went away on the weekend for Amy's birthday, and we went to a place where it used to be a school camp. And Shan, you said that was almost like your redemption camp, because you got bullied at school and all that, and you said the same thing. You were bullied at school, and then you said that, you started like not wanting to go out and be social and things, which was part of my reason as well. Like, so I think what you just said then was will be very relatable to a lot of people. Like, it's not just the fact that we want to lose weight. There's so many other factors behind it as to why we need to do this.
Yeah, it's almost like a redemption life.
Yeah.
We talk about redemption rise, redemption camps, but it's a redemption life. We just
As you said, you want to live in your 30s because you're not living in your 20s. So
yeah. Did you have any concerns going into surgery?
Well, so first of all, like, one, I just wanted to cover off on two things I thought of when you guys were chatting then. Was one of the biggest fears that I had going into surgery was actually not the surgery itself. Like, I always had a fear of failure, but because you think, well, nothing else I've done has worked, so why would this be any different? And because your self-worth, like, is just like rock bottom. So you're kind of like, all right, let's last ditch attempt. But the biggest thing I was worried about was people at work judging me and going, why are you only eating this much food, and what's going on? And to anyone who is considering it or is worried about that, I can guarantee you that, like, I literally had 0 people ask me about, like, why I was eating soup for lunch, or, if I was not going for coffee anymore, or, like, there was literally not a single person. So it kind of was a big wake up moment for me, because it made me realize that everyone is so wrapped up in their own lives, and it's not because they're mean or anything. It's just that people are worried about all other types of shit. But sorry, I don't know if we swear on this.
Yeah. Let's go for it.
So people have so much other stuff going on in their lives. The last thing that they are going to care about is the fact that I had, like, I'm only drinking water, or I've been having, like, puree foods for the last 2 weeks. Like, it was actually quite liberating. I told a few of my close friends at work, purely because I think it was really good to have a support network just in case, like, if I sort of started to feel unwell or anything like that, which didn't really end up happening. But it was just, it was kind of like that light bulb moment for me, where I was like, okay, I can literally just get on with my life. People honestly don't care.
No, exactly.
And the other thing was about thinking that it was the easy way out. I think part of it as well was that my negative self-talk about myself was like, well, if I think this is an option, then it must be a cop-out, because I only think of bad things. Like, it's sort of, I think that's where my mindset was coming from. And of course I want to do this because it will be easy for me, and then I can lose weight and, do everything that I want to do. But then I think having a friend go through it, and I only found the Instagram community in my pre-op, like, diet phase, is when I sort of started to look, because my surgeon recommended checking out social media and stuff. I had no idea there was this giant community of people, and I actually started as a secret sleever.
Wow.
Secret sleever.
Yeah.
So I think it was because I was so scared about failing, and I didn't want people to know that I'd failed to that extent. So I had and my boyfriend hates the name of this. I actually had a separate Instagram account, and it was Iron Guts to Iron Man.
Oh my God, I love that.
I really like it too, but it was somewhere that I was able to, I guess, be really open and frank about it. But I made it a private account, and I think if I had my time over, now that knowing what I know, like I think I would have just been open from the start. But it's always easy to say that now. But now I'm out.
Yeah, you're out.
You're out of the cupboard.
As a sleever. Yeah. So I sort of because what I really like is if I see someone who's hashtagged and they're just starting or they're doing research, I really love reaching out to them because I know how daunting it feels, but I want them to see the potential that there is. Like it's just, and it's only a tool. Like it's by far the hardest thing I've ever done in my life because you're physically altering your body, but it's if you look at it as a tool, and that's how I've looked at it. I'm like, this is not going to change my lifestyle. Like I have to do other things, and that's kind of where triathlon came in, and just so sorry, I'm rambling now.
It's funny that you say that you were a secret sleever because me going into my journey, I also set up a separate page, which is my Finding Leader page. I have my own private page as well. But I only told a handful of people at the very beginning that I was going in for surgery, and my brother was the last person that I told because I didn't tell many people because I was scared of judgment. I was scared that they were going to say to me, the amount of people I told that I was like, oh, I'm having weight loss surgery. And they'd be like, why don't you just go on a diet and go to the gym? And you'd be like, oh my God, why didn't I think of that before? Oh, why didn't you tell me that 12 months ago? I've never joined every gym on the friggin' Sunshine Coast before, whatever.
Yeah.
But I called my brother the day before surgery. It was the last thing I did before I went to bed, and I was worried that my brother, out of everybody, was going to be the one who was like, oh, you're such a cop-out, rah, rah, rah.
Yeah.
So I called him, and I was like, just heaven forbid if anything happened on the operating table, this is what I'm doing. And he cried on the phone to me, and he was just so proud of me for taking my own life into my hands. He was like, I've watched you struggle. I've seen you literally do everything under the sun. He's like, I'm just so proud of you for taking this step to better yourself. And now he lives in Sydney, so I don't get to see him very often, but now every single time I see him, he's just kind of he's blown away. He calls me after every race, or he texts me after every race to just be like, and his two daughters are just like, I want to learn how to run like Arnie Lita. It's so cute. But
because I always wondered that too with the secret sleever side of things, because obviously I just went straight out, just I had weight loss surgery, blah, blah, blah. Because I kind of was like, I'm not going to hide it. But I also wonder, because I get the whole fear of failure side of things, because I had lost 50, 60 kilos 4 or 5 times and regained it. And it's so embarrassing. And that was in public. It wasn't obviously social media, but in public, I would avoid people that knew me when I was skinnier for the embarrassment side of things. So I do get that. So I always wondered with the secret sleever, was it because you're embarrassed of having to take the step of having weight loss surgery, or is it the fear that you may one day fail and people within your real reality know that you had weight loss surgery and then failed? Is it?
Mine was the judgment side of things. I was just sick of people judging me, and this was another call that they could judge me on.
Yeah, I do get that, because it is perceived very different in society that, it is the easy way out. No, we've had that multiple times, but at the end of the day, if someone does care for you, they're going to care more about what the results are rather than what the actions.
100%.
You obviously met your Sir James, the new lover boy. How long after surgery did you meet him? And do you want to tell us a little bit of how you guys met?
You're going to make me blush now.
I know.
So we met in February of last year. So we sort of moved in quite quick and everything. But anyway, so we met on Tinder.
Oy.
He super liked me, just for the record. And I had recently ended, I'd been dating someone for a few months before that, and we weren't on the same page, so I was sort of a free agent back on Tinder, and I was actually the night before my first race at Tweed Enduro. which was I did the sprint the next morning, but I picked up my race pack, and that was the year that they gave the sprint guys the same backpack as the endurers, which the longer course guys always get. Like my mate that did the long course was like, I can't believe I could have just done the sprint and got the same bag. Like, because we only do the races for the bags,
for the medals, for the merch.
So I took a photo of my bag and I sent it to him, and I just said, "Oh, like this is my race that I'm doing in the morning, and I got this sweet merch." And then he called me, and I was staying with the mate that was doing the race and his wife, and she was like, "Oh, if he's ringing, like you've got to answer." And I was like, "Oh, like it's just so it's such an unusual step." And it was good. It got him, like it made me kind of think, okay, like this guy's actually, not, maybe he's not half bad. So we had a quick chat, and he wished me luck and said, I'd love to come and watch you at a race next time. And I thought, oh yeah, whatever. And then as soon as you tell people when the race starts, they're always like, oh, I'll see you at the end. And yeah, and then we a couple of more dates, and then I think it was the fourth date, he wanted to come to a race. Like he kept saying, like, I want to come and see a race. And I said, oh, well, you can come to this one on the weekend, but my parents will be there and my entire tri club will be there. And he was like, yeah, cool. All right, let's meet him. And I thought, okay, he might be a bit serious then.
Yeah.
Cute.
And yeah, so he's very, very caring and very supportive. And even though we have different schedules, particularly in the early mornings, like he'll just wake up and be like, go baby go, and then like roll back to sleep. So it's very, very cute.
Is James a triathlete? Is he an athlete of any sort, or was he just super keen to support you?
So he's not a triathlete yet. I mean, I think like maybe one day he might want to try it, but he's just definitely like my number one supporter. And he calls himself, well, I was going to say self-christened, but I call him, he's my number one bag bitch. So he holds all my gear and makes sure I've got everything. And
he's your caddy.
Caddy.
Yeah. Caddy's probably a nicer way to say it.
Yeah, bag bitch. I don't know.
Yeah, it sounds kind of fun.
But we do go to the gym together. So that's kind of like our fitness activity that we'll do together, and we sometimes go for a run, especially if I'm doing a run off the bike. He'll come and keep me company. And then he's more into like basketball and stuff like that, so we've got our individual sports that we enjoy, but he's definitely just really super supportive, which is always great.
So good.
So clearly he hasn't had weight loss surgery. How long did it take before you brought up the weight loss surgery side of things, or was it one of those things that he just noticed?
I think I told him pretty early on. I'm just trying to remember actually, because like he actually loves it because he gets like 1.5 meals when we go out. So he's like, this is great. Everyone should date someone who's had surgery. So I'm pretty sure, because at our first date, we sort of, and you kind of get a bit strategic as well, but I think because I've had 2 years post-op as well, my stomach is a little bit more relaxed these days. I still have days of restriction, but I can eat a little bit more. Like on a good day, I can probably do a whole 6-inch sub. Yeah. But then other days I wouldn't be able to. I'm sure you guys have a similar experience. So, the first couple of dates we were kind of sharing food anyway. And then I think it was probably because he always tried to get me a drink while we were having dinner. And I kept saying no. And I said, oh, just so you know, the reason why is because I don't drink while I eat, because I don't have enough room in my stomach. And then it was literally just like, oh, okay, all right. So about this TV show, and then it was just it wasn't anything too outrageous. So, and I think just because it had been quite a while, I was a lot more used to it and more comfortable with it and comfortable in sharing it. And so I think, he would be vibing off what I'm putting out with that. So he was just like, okay, that's fine.
So
I
talking
don't
about
have to give you a life-saving injection every 12 hours or anything crazy like that. We're good to go.
Yeah.
talking about being more comfortable and all that sort of thing, how did you find the physical side of dating with your new body? Like, did you find that you were a lot more confident, or did it take a little bit more time to sort of get used to that and adjust to it mentally?
There's definitely that period where you still think you're bigger than you are. I think that's particularly the first 12 months. I found that to be the most, because that's when you, generally speaking, that's when people lose most, or 80% of their weight that they're going to lose is in the first year after surgery. I think I definitely, and you kind of, I don't know whether you guys had the same thing, but I kind of went through a stage of like almost resentment that I was getting all this attention now without digging myself up. But, you know, you just, it's something you can't really ignore. Like all of a sudden I was matching with more people on dating apps, like where I would normally like never get any, which is really sad.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, and I'm like, you shallow bastards. Like this is why I like, no wonder you get all this reinforcement that you're not good enough. And then you kind of go through this. I went through this phase of being like, I hate men.
Yeah, I was the same. Like,
So-
it is because females always like, no, it's what's on the inside that counts. And I'm sure you're the same with males. And they're always like, it's what's on the inside that counts. But yet, you know, your example, my example, you get more matches when you physically on the outside look different and closer to society's standards than you did when you were still the same most beautiful person on the inside and no one wanted to swipe right on you then. Yeah, I was exactly the same. And it's the same reason I want to keep my loose skin for that exact reason. Because I'm like, if someone can't deal with my loose skin, they probably wouldn't have liked me when I had an extra 95 kilos on me.
But it goes both ways. Like even when you go out into the pub, which we're now allowed to go back to, yay! Like even like people, I've said this before too, because I was never really on internet dating. So my experience relates back to my local pub, and there was boys who I, you know, would be eyeing off in the pub when I was 127 kilos, and they wouldn't have a bar of me. But now all of a sudden, because I'm 60 kilos lighter, they'll be buying me drinks and stuff. And it's like, you can't say that we don't live in a shallow society. Like there's definitely more to it than that. But essentially everything is based on face appearance.
Yeah, well, it's a catalogue these days.
It
you know,
is.
it's not like you're going up and making conversation. It's a catalogue. You know,
Yeah.
Tinder is a catalogue.
Yeah.
You're swiping through like pages of a catalogue. You know, and I just said catalogue a lot.
How
I
many
do
times
realize
can
that.
you say catalogue?
Yeah, catalogue.
I think it's also part of it. Like I 100% agree, because I think I'm even the same. Like if I'm looking at when I was on Tinder, like I had a type that I would be looking for, and it turns out James is like, you know, I thought I liked guys with beards and tats and like real tough guys, and you know, James is, well, he has grown a little beard since, but not because I pressured him to. But he doesn't have tattoos. Like he's doing his PhD. Like he's not that I would go to like Dumbos, but it's just, you have this idea in your head of what your type is. And then it wasn't until I actually got more used to just dating, and I realized that the person on the other side is probably just as nervous as I was. I still went through a phase where I would like cancel last minute on Tinder dates because I was just terrified of like arriving and they would reject me. And I remember still, like I was at work on a Saturday because that's just what I used to do, and I was post-op, so I was probably just under the year mark, and I went to like go meet a guy for a drink, and I was literally like shaking and telling my girlfriends at work, I'm not going to go, I can't do this. And then we went and had a beer, and he like accidentally spilled beer down his shirt. I was like, oh, you're just like a normal person like me, like
You're just as nervous as what I am.
It took him being clumsy.
Yeah.
Just to tell
You kind of break down those barriers, and you just, it kind of comes back to my observation around people just do not notice if you're doing something for yourself. They're not going to take tabs and be like, oh, Cara only had soup today. It's the same type of thing. Like, I think maybe it's helped me kind of realize that everyone has their own struggles and everyone's human regardless of what they might project. And I think there's also an argument around once we get more confident, we project ourselves differently. We project out different energy, and that's kind of attracting back different energy. Like, I still think that would play a part, but and then I think also I realized the apps are what they are for a reason, and you're right, it is a catalogue. So I think that also helped me to kind of take the sting out of it, because they're not rejecting me as a person, they're rejecting like 5 photos of me.
Yeah.
So sort of,
and it's like it's usually one photo. Like, guys are very much like the first photo, and then it's yay or nay, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I wouldn't take it to heart, but it's funny how we have those preconceived ideas in our head. Like, I had a conversation with Amy on the weekend of when we first met, and my insecurities were so bad that, like, I remember the first time I met her, I was like, I'm not approaching her purely because she's a good-looking girl, good-looking fit girl, and me coming from a background of being a bigger guy, I was like, well, no, she'll be mean to me. And we had this conversation on the weekend. It was so funny that, like, she was literally like, how can I approach him, because I want to be friends with him, but I was like, I don't want to approach her because I was so petrified of rejection. And it was just funny that we had that conversation and seeing the other side of things, that, yes, we are all in our own lives, but it's also like other people, it's not always what the face value.
It's funny too, because Dom, who is another person that we run with as well, she said the same thing about you though. She was like, we saw you at parkrun and you were the guy. You were always the guy that we wanted to try and catch because you were faster than us, but they didn't know how to approach you because you were the faster, attractive guy, and you just didn't even realize.
No, I remember walking past Dom and Shay at the time, and I was like, hi, this awkward little wave thing.
Pretty girls are talking to me. I don't know what to do. And they were like, oh God, fast boy is talking to us. We don't know what to do.
So it just goes to show sometimes it is just in our head, and we just have to, but it's hard when, like, your history kind of says a certain thing. When, at school, I used to always get made fun of by the good looking, fit girls and stuff. Yeah, Shitney Shannon. We had that conversation. That used to be my nickname. I got Shitney Shannon because I have a birthmark on my knee. Just so everyone knows what's going on there.
Talking about our past, what's been the toughest part of the process so far for you?
I think it was definitely the initial stages post-op before you start to see those results, when you're basically relearning how to eat and operate as a human being with food and drink and fluid. And I made a point to follow my surgeon's post-op instructions to the letter. I think the only thing I did to cheat was I put a little block of chocolate in my mouth and let it melt, and then argued to myself that was technically puree. So it's like those types of things that just stick out in your memory. But just those. And then when I initially had like post-op, a lot of people have the same thing where you can't drink normal tap water. And I, like, it sounds weird, I love water. Like, I was always a big water drinker. And so I think relearning and you got having time to like readjust to normal tap water, because I hate cordial. It sounds like a first world problem, but at the time you're like, I was so emotional as well, because your body's been through this big trauma, which is surgery. Like, that's just what it is. The body doesn't know that you're doing it for a better reason, like to better itself. It's just reacting to the shock of the anesthetic and the stitching and, the incisions and all that type of stuff. So I was all emotional, and I'm like, I'm never going to drink water again. And then, you kind of wait a couple of weeks and try a little sip, and it goes down, and you just think it's like the best thing in the world. And I think also not drinking while you're eating. Especially when you're really thirsty.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'd kill for a big chug of water right now. Sometimes I have a little sip, because I think 3 years post-op, you definitely notice a bit more of a relaxation with my stomach. And I think that's why it's even more important for people to remember that it is just a tool, because if I was still eating the way that I ate prior to my surgery, you could very quickly, because you figure out what your slider foods are and which foods you can eat. Because I could eat a whole bag of kettle potato chips. I absolutely love potato chips. I'm like a chip monster. So they're not in the house. I'll have them sometimes. But so you kind of just relearning how your body is going to function.
Yeah.
I think that the first 6 weeks were like, you go through such a roller coaster, and then you just like, before you know it, you've lost like 20 kilos, and you're like, whoa, okay, I think this is working.
Yeah. No, but you're 100% right, because it is a tool, and if you're not willing to take those processes early in the stages and understand, because you do have that restriction, so it's kind of like precious space, and it kind of emphasizes on the bad foods. So you're more likely, you know, in that first year, if you're starting to build those habits of understanding how foods make you feel, it's going to make the process a lot easier, because at the end of the day, you can still eat chocolate, you can still
Even
have
if you
chocolate
let it
milk,
melt on your tongue,
whatever it is, like, you know, but you need to understand that, listen to your body, like, and that's something I've been told plenty in the past, and I've always been like, oh, easier said than done, because I had this undesirable, like this unfulfillable need to just eat. But with the surgery, and why it's such a great tool is because I had it reduced, where it wasn't so much like this unquenchable urge to eat. I could actually take a second to be like, oh, you know, that made me feel good. I had good energy that day. And that's why I've religiously had oats for like 2 years, because I still, you know, have oats, and I just all day am like, I have so much energy. Like I don't feel like I have that 3 o'clock itis and
it's
bonk.
funny because I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were like, guess what? I can almost eat a whole quarter pounder. And in my head, I was like, okay, cool, but I wouldn't, that's not an achievement for me. Like, for me, the first thing that would come to mind is how that would make me feel. Like, quarter pounders, they are delicious. But, like, I just think now, when I think of food, I think of how my body reacts to it and how I'm going to feel after it. And, still, I like chocolate, and I still love twisties. I'm the twisty queen. Like, I love twisties. But I know that I can only have like a small bowl, and I'll buy a party-sized bag of twisties, but I'll just have a small bowl, and I'll empty out a small bowl, because I know that's how much my body can tolerate before I start feeling shitty afterwards.
Yeah.
So like for somebody to be like, yes, I can almost make it through a whole quarter pounder. It's like, is your goal to make it to a whole quarter pounder?
And we're not going to sit here and like, we're not going to food shame people.
No,
like, you know,
not at all.
if your thing is quarter pounders, if your thing is twisties, if your thing is Tim Tams, whatever it is, you know, live life. You still only get one life, so enjoy
100%.
life. But also you've got to understand that, you know,
There's ramifications
you spent
too,
a
though.
lot of money on a tool. You've taken a huge sacrifice in your life. What does that food actually mean to you?
Yep.
Like, you know, is that 3/4 of a quarter pounder? Is it worth the $20,000-$30,000 you've just sent to have weight loss surgery and possibly the last shot you have at regaining your life? If the answer is yes, I don't mind, then go for it. But it's also like, you need to understand that like those foods don't give you nutrition, they're giving you taste. You know, it's giving you a release of.
And we all deserve
chemicals
to have
in your
amazing
brain.
tastes every now and then.
Yeah,
so.
Live life. Like, I'm the same.
Yep.
I'll have a glass
Eat
of
the damn
wine.
piece of pizza if you want to.
Exactly right. I do agree.
Anyway, clearly you've found your feet as an athlete, but you've also found yourself a role in the triathlon Queensland world as the director. Is this a job that you had in your mind prior to surgery, or is this like a passion that you've since picked up?
So a little bit of both. So my long-term ultimate career goal is wanting to be someone who's on boards of directors for different companies, and particularly on risk management and audit and risk committees and things like that. So, which just super nerdy. But when I used to work in for an accounting firm in professional services, and I kind of moved across a few different teams, and the team that I was at before I moved to my current job was internal audit. And so you're focusing on how to manage the risk within a business and how to make sure that so like if you're running childcare centres, how you make sure that across your childcare centres children are safe, what processes and controls do you have in place to prevent anything going wrong. And I really like that. It's like problem solving, but I also get to interview, like walk through those processes with people. So I was meeting lots of people, talking about managing risk, helping them to sort of make sure that the business was functioning well and would last. And so that was sort of when I started to get interested in that sort of corporate governance side of things. So one of my career goals for last year was to get a volunteer role on a board of directors. And then I was lucky enough to get elected to try Queensland. Yeah, I mean, what a time to be a director.
Yeah, well, I was going to say though, like
COVID happened.
It's a pretty cool accomplishment though. Like, who would have
epic.
thought, Cara of 3-4 years ago would be a director of a dry community? Like that's pretty epic. Like that's an epic achievement.
Thank you. I think it's it just goes back to like having, like you said, like who would have thought Cara from a few years ago, like Cara from a few years ago, I never would have put my hand up. Like I would have, it's the same thing happened when the year before, so in 2018, my mum just sent me a screenshot of this article in the Courier Mail and said, you should apply for this. And it was a scholarship for a full MBA scholarship at Griffith University. And you had to fill in a submission and talk about what you wanted to study. And I filled it in and I didn't think anything of it. And then I got shortlisted. Then I had to write a submission, and then I got shortlisted again, and then I had to interview, and I had to like do something else, like I film a video presentation or something as well, and so I was able to talk about my my passion for like corporate social responsibility, risk management, all that type of stuff. So I was able to just basically talk about that, and then still didn't think anything of it, and then I was at one of my clients and got the call and they said, congratulations, you're going to be doing your MBA and it's on the house. So it was just kind of, it's those types of things that like previously I would not have had the confidence to think, oh, I might as well throw my hat in the ring. Like I don't think I would have even have gone there. Like, which kind of just, so it sort of felt like I was getting a bit of momentum as well, thinking I'm putting out all this good vibes, I'm working hard on myself and I'm trying to pay it forward a little bit. And then I think that was when I sort of started to go a bit more public about my journey to date as well, to try and, I guess pay it forward.
Yeah.
So it's been a really amazing couple of years, and I think you get to a point where you're like, okay, so how, I have to start thinking, and this is probably the challenge I'm facing now is that, not so much challenge, but I guess you just have to be conscious that you don't let the surgery or weight loss be like your defining thing.
Yeah.
Like,
Totally.
it's not, and you guys would be so totally on the same boat with that. Like, it's not, oh, look, it's Leah who lost 60 kilos. It's like, no, it's just me. Like, that was sort of, but you still want to use it to help other people and you still want to share your story, but you also don't want it to define you. And then I think that's why it gives you that courage and the confidence to go after the other things that you've probably been holding back on.
Yeah, I think I'm a little bit different with that too, though, with the weight loss side of things, because whenever my main goal is to break the stigma of weight loss surgery. So whenever I do anything, like my whole thing is to win, whatever it is, and say, I had weight loss surgery, to break that stigma, because definitely in the athlete world, it's frowned upon. You look at Elle, for example, and stuff like that, where it's constantly being emphasized, oh yeah, but you had weight loss surgery. So, and I've had that a lot. It kind of made me go, well, you know what? I want to
break that down.
I want to do what I do and then be proud that I had weight loss surgery, and emphasize on that, because, yes, I want to be known for more than my weight loss, but I also want to say to people like, hey, weight loss surgery isn't what everyone thinks it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, yes, it's a great tool, but at the end of the day, I'm working my ass off to do what I do.
And I always say too, though, like I hands down lost the first 30 kilos due to weight loss surgery, and I didn't put too much emphasis on exercise and all that sort of thing. I was just letting the tool do its thing. But the second 30 kilos, 100% has come from the lifestyle that I lead. And I can guarantee now, like, I wouldn't be running half marathons through trails if, not saying that the weight loss surgery made me do it, but the weight loss surgery gave me the ability and the passion. Like, there's no way, I mean, I probably could have.
Gave it a kickstart along.
100%.
Yeah.
Like, I could have done it at 127 kilos, but I wouldn't have wanted to. Like, I wouldn't have had the energy. I wouldn't have had the drive. I wouldn't have had the, what's the saying? weight loss surgery doesn't make me set my alarm for 4 o'clock in the morning and get up and train.
Yeah, and because that's the thing. I understand no one wants to be their weight loss, but it's also like I want people to know that weight loss is just not just saving people's lives. It's literally creating lives.
Yeah.
Like there's so many people out there doing amazing things who just they push weight loss surgery into the background purely because people are bringing their achievements down because they have weight loss surgery.
Yeah.
And that's not right. Like, you should be proud to have weight loss surgery. You should be proud of any decision you made in your life to get you where you are.
Yeah.
Because the accomplishments you are having today are purely because you made a decision, whether it was, to have weight loss surgery, whether it was to go to university and study, whatever it is, you should be proud of it. Every decision you made in your past, as long as it gets you to where you want to go.
100%. That's such a good way of looking at it too.
It is, because I hate that people have to be embarrassed of having weight loss surgery.
Yeah.
It really is something that really irritates me.
Are you a bit triggered, Shannon, are you?
I think there's a difference between letting it define you as a person, but you can still talk about it. And I'm like quite open about it, and I talk about it. But it's also, it is a tool that I've used to sort of turn my life around, and that's great. And I think that's why it's like, you do the Throwback Thursdays because you want to inspire other people who think that they can't. And I 100% agree, Lita, because like the first 25 kilos, the most I'd ever lost before I had weight loss surgery was 7 kilos, and I put it back on within 6 months. So I still think that I would still be 116 kilos if I hadn't had the surgery. But I think it's like when I'm, and then when I've sort of shared it a little bit in the triathlon community, and I've had, I also find big inspiration from people like Renee Kiley, who went from, she hasn't had bariatric surgery, but I was like, we should get her on the podcast. But she went from like 100 and something kilos and a pack a day smoker, and then now she's a professional Iron woman. And I just, but the amount of work that goes into that, I think it's when you realise that yes, we've done this surgery to turn our lives around, and then what we do after that is like, it's definitely a part of it, but you've got to give yourself credit that what you do after that is so much more special. Like I think it's. Yeah. So
and I get that, because it's not only weight loss surgery, obviously, as I was just thinking when you were saying that, then like it's hard to put into words for other people to understand that, like, 2 or 3 days a week, I feel like I'm going to vomit on my feet because I'm working my body that hard to get myself to a point where I can do this stuff. You know what I mean? And it's hard to sometimes explain that to people, and that's, and then people go, oh, but you had weight loss surgery. Like that, the thing that triggers me is when I did the Bari try, my first try, and someone was like, yeah, it's amazing what happens when you have 8 tenths of your stomach cut out. And that for me was a triggering moment, because it was kind of like, I woke up at 4 o'clock every morning for like, 8 months. And rode at 4 o'clock in the morning, 30 kilometers every morning to get myself ready for that. And then for someone to take it away from me purely because I had weight loss surgery was the triggering moment for me. That was just like
terrible.
No, it is, and that's what I mean. Like I hate that, like old 40-year-old Betty or 60-year-old Susie or whatever it is have to feel ashamed of the decision they make because they decided to have weight loss surgery and better their lives.
But that was like me the other day, like literally 2 days ago, or was it yesterday? I woke up naturally. I woke up at 4:30 and the sun was just rising, and I was like, I could lay in bed for the next 2 hours and scroll through Instagram, scroll through Facebook, but I decided, I wanted to get up and run. So I got up, I put my running clothes on, and I ran. It was the hardest friggin' run in my entire life. I don't know why, but for some reason it was just the worst run ever. But like the old me would have been like, oh, I'm just going to try and go back to sleep, or I'll sit here on my phone. But I was like, this is the perfect opportunity for me to actually get out and do what I want to be doing. Like that's not the sleeve talking.
Are you sure? Like I'm pretty sure wasn't it weight loss? Like the sleeve was like, hey, go for a run.
Hey girl.
Yeah. I can't personally say that I've had comment like that, but I have seen that on, friends' Instagram accounts and that type of thing. And it really pisses me off as well, because people, and normally it's people that are armchair heroes that they're actually not doing it either. So they're justifying their inaction or their overweight status at the moment or their life choices, and they're looking at someone that's achieved something, like you doing your first triathlon and going, oh yeah, but that's because you had weight loss surgery. So it says so much more about that particular person than I think
than anything else.
I mean, it sounds like I've been quite lucky, but I've had really positive responses from people. Look, most people have been like, oh, good on you, like, good for you. Or they'll say, oh, my aunt had it, or my grandma had it, or it kind of brings it out in the open. So I still think it's super important to just be, like, to talk about it and keep it, it's almost like keep making it more common to kind of take that stigma away. Because, like, the amount of times that I've brought it up and they're like, oh, yeah, my brother did it or my auntie did it. And you're like, it's like 3 degrees of separation. There's someone knows someone who's had it.
100%.
And I think it's going to become one of those
mainstream
procedures that's like, it's like people getting their wisdom teeth out.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, my stomach's too big.
We've talked a lot about your past and how you got to be this amazing human you are. What is next for Cara?
Oh, thank you. That's very kind. I am wanting to finish my MBA and then I'm going to go straight to racing, but my big goal in the future is going to be a full Ironman, December 2022 at
Busselton.
Busselton.
It's so sad that I knew when you said that day what event that was going to be.
December, it's always in Busso.
Yeah, good old Busso.
Yeah.
I got goosebumps when you just said that. Like, oh, I don't know there's something about Ironman that like it draws me to it, but I don't know if I ever want to do it. But like I understand how hard it is. And, I just got goosebumps. Like honestly,
just so for anyone who doesn't know, because you talked about 70.3, a full Ironman
is double that.
So it's like 3.8k swim, followed by a 180k bike ride, followed by a marathon.
A full marathon.
Like a full marathon. It's absolutely insane. Yeah. Like I look at some of those pro times and I'm just like, how do they do that? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I don't really ever have a goal of running a full marathon ever, but then my goal is to maybe do one on the back of a swim and a bike ride.
I'm thinking I might join you in Busselton next year, Cara. I think that'll be it for me as well.
2021 or 2022?
No, I want to do half first, but yeah, I think Busselton sounds like it's the goal.
Because you're thinking 2022, aren't you?
Yes. So one of my shortcomings that I've been trying to change is that I love signing up for races and I get really overexcited, and then I want to actually do a proper lead up and prep, and so I want to sort of nail the 70.3 distance first, and then as much as I can nail it, like I'm never going to be one of those podium people. Like I'll be a back of the packer, which I'm totally fine with, but just the best race I can put up, and then work on the longer distances because it is a big time investment. So I'm trying to be tempered and measured in my goal setting, because I think it sounds so far away, but then when I work,
you think of this year, geez,
and it's actually not that far away.
It's funny because Shannon and I have got this joke that whenever we look at a race that we're both thinking about doing together, Shannon looks at the top 10 and if he can place in the top 10, and I literally look at the cutoff times and make sure that I can do it in the cutoff times. So like I'm definitely I'm a back of the packer too.
But even saying that, like with the 50k, like I did Blackall 50 last weekend. I had so much appreciation for the guys that came in at like 17, 18 hours for, you know, whether they were doing the 50 or the 100.
They're out there for so much longer.
That's a lot of time on your feet. It takes a whole new element, because it's almost like you've got to, like we talked about nutrition and stuff, and it was kind of like doing nutrition for 17 hours. It's like,
it's a long time.
You almost need like to carry like a little camper van behind you or something like that to keep yourself fueled up.
I can't believe that I'm going to say this, but I might even pledge it, Cara. I'll do the 70.3 at 2020 Busso if you do the full.
I thought you were going to say the full.
I know for me that I need more time for the full, and I don't know if I'll ever get to a full, but I'll pledge 2022. I'll do the half if you do the full at Busso.
Wow.
Love it. All right, done. Signed.
Signed.
It's so exciting, and I think having I think even a 70.3 distance, like, don't discount how awesome that's going to be. Like, it's such a
Trust
big
me,
achievement.
there's a reason why I don't want to sign up for the full, because the 70.3 is enough for me.
Yeah, it is.
It's all relative, right? Yeah,
100%.
It is. Do you have plastics or anything on the books?
I would love to get a breast lift and maybe an augmentation, but I've been pretty lucky. Like, I do have excess skin and I'm aware of it, but I'm not sort of like limited by it, because I know a lot of people end up needing to get it purely because they get like painful sores and things like that because they have excess skin and it gets in the way of them exercising and working out and training and stuff like that. I've been pretty lucky that I'm like kind of self-conscious about it, but I think I've gotten to the point where I'm just like, screw it. I've worked hard to get to where I am.
Yeah.
So
Relatable.
That's it. You're always going to be self-conscious of something. If it's not the skin, it'll be something else. It's a never-ending thing.
I'm more sort of, I guess, aware now of being out in the sun with sport and stuff now. Like, I'm just sort of doing a bit more prep and care on the face. So maybe good Botox and that type of thing. So I've got, I know a great place if you guys want. But yeah, apart from that, like, I think it would be sort of if we win the lotto or something, we'd be like, let's get this done. But
I've always said that for me, for plastics, unless for me personally, and that this is my own decision, if it's not affecting me medically, like what you just said with the sores and, physically being able to exercise and stuff like that, I'm not going to get it done. Like, I haven't had kids yet, so who knows what's going to happen in the future. So there's no point in me personally deciding to have surgery to remove excess skin and then fall pregnant and, blow it all out and all. And I like you, I've been extremely lucky, and I don't really have, like, yes, I'm self-conscious about it when I run and when I'm in bikinis, but at the same time, people are going to look regardless. So I'm going to embrace it.
Yeah. Totally.
I agree.
Yeah.
So if you had one piece of advice for Cara pre-surgery, or for somebody who's thinking about embarking on the process, what would it be?
I think it would be to just try and go in as mentally prepared as you can. Like, there's only so much that you can do, but I think one of the things that really helped me set myself up for success was my mindset going into it was not that this was going to fix everything and once I lose the weight, that's it. Like, I can just go back to normal. I kind of viewed it, and I had sort of a visualization of it as a big reset button. And so when I went under, it was like someone pressing the reset button.
Oh, yes, that is another episode of Bari Banter
like
in the books. We hope you got a little something from that one.
And head on over to Facebook or Instagram and check us out, or go to baribanter.com where you can watch past episodes, give us feedback, and let us know who you want to hear from next.
So, we love you all, and as always, I think
that would be the biggest piece of advice I would want to give to myself pre-surgery, but also to other people, that you have to figure out what manage your expectations going into it. Don't think of it as a cure-all. And if you do have other issues, like, as I said, depression and anxiety for me was a big thing that, like, I still take medication for, but I think that's still separate from, it improved a lot with my weight loss, but it's still something that I've had to sort of work through, even though I feel so much better after losing weight. So I think it's sort of taking a bit of a stock take of, like, where you're at mentally before you go into something that's so life-altering, and see it for what it is, which is a tool in your toolbox that you can really use to your advantage. And so use all the support and help that's made available to you. because it's a big decision.
Yeah.
So
I love that. You
yeah.
you just said manage
think
expectations. I really like that's a solid piece of advice, because if your you can only do as well as what your expectations are for yourself. So managing your own expectations and not basing it on anybody else except your own journey is such a massive thing to take note of.
Yeah, and I think you hit it on the head. Like, you said a few things that obviously Alita took a little portion of that and I took a portion of that. And it was, don't use it as the tool it is.
Yeah.
Don't treat this like a diet. We've been on a diet our whole life. No need to treat this like a diet as well. And a lot like any other tool, if you pick up a hammer, you pick up a power drill. You don't use the power drill like a hammer. The sleeve is a tool that comes with its own benefits. Make sure you take the time to appreciate those benefits and use those benefits.
My dietitian
and read the instruction manual.
Yeah.
Read the instruction
My
manual.
dietitian, when I remember one of the things that has always come back to me is that she said weight loss surgery should mean that you should never go on another diet again in your entire life. We dabble in keto, we dabble in being vegans, we do all this, but it should mean, and they always say it, like my dietitian says it all the time, you should never have to go on another diet again in your life. Everything in moderation. Learn what works for you. Just, you've done Jenny Craig, you've done Weight Watchers, you've done starving yourself. Just be done with that.
Yeah.
You're having surgery.
I love that.
You're taking your life into your own hands, and just live now, but live within your means.
Yeah, I do agree.
I love that. And I think I burnt my OptiFast. If I ever have to have even protein shakes, I struggle sometimes, I'll make it into a smoothie. And that's just if I'm short on time, if I try to eat whole foods. But it was just mentally, anytime I smell like a chocolate shake, I'm just like, what?
Anytime you smell a shaker after it's had protein, you're like, oh, can't do it anymore.
Yeah. Well, Cara, you are a remarkable human. Not going to lie. I like you.
Oh,
You're a
thank
good
you.
egg.
I can't believe we've never actually met in person. We've spoken
Yeah.
about it so many times. And you live just down the
know.
road, and every time it's just...
I
And
feel
my
like I
parents
know
are
her.
up the
We
coast.
know you.
She's one of my top accounts that I follow on Instagram because I do like what you're about and you're just out there just slaying life.
And every time I see that you've done another race, I slide into your DMs and I'm like, tell me everything about it. Oh my God.
Mate, I was down there in Mooloolaba looking for the contact lens. So, thanks, Cara.
We will get you this contact lens so
Yeah.
you can finish the damn race.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should get sponsored by a contact lens.
Yeah, totally.
my
Specsavers.
God. Specsavers.
You could finish in a half Ironman if you had Specsavers.
You could be their new ad.
Yeah.
Oh,
But thank you for
that's
joining
so
us,
good.
Cara. You are...
Thank you so much for having me.
You're incredible. I'm sure a lot of people are going to get a lot of things from this podcast because you have so much that you gave out that even I was like, you even triggered me. That was great.
Shannon got triggered.
Yeah, it's good. But yeah, apart from that, thank you. That is another episode of Bari Banter. Well, yes, that is another episode of Bari Banter in the books. We hope you got a little something from that one.
Head on over to Facebook or Instagram and check us out, or go to baribanter.com where you can watch past episodes, give us feedback, and let us know who you want to hear from next.
We love you all, and as always, please stay beautiful.